Okay, okay. The sun is beaming again. That is a good thing, y'all. That is a very, very, very good thing. And so, your calling requires capacity. Your calling requires capacity. One of the, oh, excuse me. And we'll get some more, something to drink here. Okay, let's start that back over. Your calling requires capacity. One of the things that I believe that many purpose driven women aren't quitting because you don't care. No, you're quitting because you don't have enough capacity. You don't have enough capacity and you need capacity for your calling. And I'm going to say this, it's not that purpose driven women are quitting loud, it's that quiet quitting. It's the quitting in procrastination, it's the quitting in you feel like you imposter syndrome. It's the quiet quitting, and some of that is because you lack capacity. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to change the that lighting, because at least when you see me, let's see, that's better. It's still there, but anyway, I just didn't want it to shine so much, you know what I mean? And so, but your capacity determines how consistent that you are. Your capacity determines how consistently that you walk in your calling, because you can have the heart for it. You can say, I'm all for it. I got this message. But if you do not have the capacity to carry your calling, then you are quiet quitting. You may show up, but then you don't have the energy. You may show up, but then you're tired. You may show up, but then you are pretty much, mental overload, fatigue, all of that. It doesn't mean to keep going per se. It really doesn't. Sometimes, and we talked about this, I talked about this the other day. Sometimes you may need to add something to expand, but sometimes you need to subtract something because you're not able to multiply because you're doing too much. And so we're not going to be having all of this quiet quitting. And your purpose, your calling, your ministry, your movement alone isn't enough, y'all. You can say, oh, I got this message from God. I got this message from the Creator. I had this experience. But if you do not have the capacity to carry your calling, you will quiet quit. And then you will have everybody, oh, I understand, sis. You got too much on your plate. But sometimes it's the other things around, because you can know the assignment, you can know exactly what to do. And you could be like, I'm so deeply, deeply called. And you're still exhausted Because if you're exhausted, you're not able to show up as your authentic self. If you're exhausted, you're not able to do the things that need to be done for your calling. If you're exhausted, you're not able to show up as your full self. And then to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. You're not able to do that. Capacity is what protects your calling. It protects your calling. Because if not, it's going to pretty much put you under, either in, unfortunately, you'll be on the road to a breakdown or underground. And we're not having that. Those are the days. And when you're like, oh, I got this calling, I have this ministry, and I have all of this. But then you're running yourself into the ground because, oh, I got to be there for the people. I got to show up. You can't show up if you are exhausted. You can't continue to show up if you're just plain tired. If you do not integrate rest and recover, if you are not recalibrating yourself, if you are not renewing your mind, if you're not renewing your body, renewing your spirit, be able to have that space. Because of the fact, without capacity, you begin saying yes to everything. So having the capacity is having the capacity to say no, is having the courage. Courage is a form of capacity. When you're working through kind of like that nervous system, well, you're like, oh no, this is too much. Or at least start saying, let me check my calendar before you say yes. Before you say yes. And then for some of you, it's not that you stop resting, you never rested in the first place. Because somewhere we as women got this message. You got to push through. You got to keep on. You got to give. You got to be of service. And I was listening to someone yesterday. I forget who the person was, but made a very good point. Again, love thy neighbor. But I have to say, as usually what people do, they leave out one part. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. You're always making sure that others are taken care of, but are you taking care of yourself? Because without capacity, it leads to burnout. And when you're burnt out, or even on the verge of burnout, you show up different. Your decisions are different. It's not just the fact that you may feel tired, but your mind is tired, your soul is tired, your spirit is tired. And we're not having that anymore. Our ancestors, they had no choice. Our parents coming off of the hill, depends on what your age is. For those of us who are older than the speed limit, the 55 speed limit. For those of us who got some age on us. So when it comes to your capacity, it allows you to sustain your work. It allows you to, when you're, again, in year 1, year 2, year 5, year 10, year 20 of your calling, that you are able to sustain that in good health. Because you're taking care of yourself. You know when to say no, and you're not feeling guilty of the no. And you're looking at things to say, hey, is this thing is even in alignment with your calling and with your principles? And let me tell you, I'm not interested in helping people for a day, for a week, for a month. I'm interested in helping people in the long run so that they can sustain their calling and themselves as well. And when I look back of the many challenges that pretty much have led me to the self-care world, I always want to say that I've always had some parts in it. And even at that time, I didn't call it that, but everything I did helped me with my capacity because it required more from me. Like after the breakup, after when I was crying, literally crying for 40 days and 40 nights, I needed something to help me with my capacity so that I can show up for my clients. And for me at that time, that was yoga. And who would have thought that yoga and meditation was going to benefit me in the future when my stepdad had his heart attack? And somewhere in between his 90 days of being in the hospital and being in rehab, that somewhere in between there, my mom was hospitalized a few times. So I needed something to help me show up, to help them, and then to continue to help my clients. And so that is definitely where the yoga and meditation really helped me out because it helped with my capacity to hold on, to let go. And so this is one of the reasons why y'all you hear me talk about self-care, but self-care is really the mechanism. What you're really going for is having the capacity for your calling, having the capacity to carry what's needed for you. And especially for those of you who have a family, those of you who have a spouse, those of you who have kids and grandkids, you want to have the capacity to show up for them. And by being a therapist, one of the things that I have seen so many times, y'all, I mean, I've seen this just so many times that people burn out, have crisis, be overwhelmed before they're making any changes. And y'all, this is not just, when it comes to your mind, when it comes to your mental wellness. We see it happen even physically when it comes to medical conditions. So whether it's mental health or medical conditions, sometimes people wait until the last moment. Now, don't get me wrong, there are times in which, I always say things happen despite people doing the healthy things. That does happen. But what I've seen more is that people, they don't even do the bare minimum. One of the ways that helps you with your capacity is intentional breathing. It sounds so simple. But the more that you do intentional breathing, it helps you with your capacity. It really does, y'all. Yeah, we breathe on our own every day. God has given us that. But the intentional breathing, that helps you to sustain your capacity. And there's so many different types. But my aim is to help purpose-driven women to to cultivate their capacity, to build the internal resources. And I'm going to pause there for a moment, because with the internal resources, to be honest, most of them you don't have to build. It's really reactivating them, because a lot of them we had ever since we were kids. But somewhere along life, because of life experiences, and even for some, and maybe some trauma, they get filtered, they disappear, they go underground, they get buried. And so by internal resources, those things help you with your capacity to bring those things back and learn some new ones along the way as well. So if anything, I want you to remember is that your capacity isn't asking you to do more. Not at all. It's just inviting you to cultivate it so you can sustain it. Because your calling needs that. That is what you're calling in. So if you are committed to cultivating your capacity for your calling, come inside Fortitude and Free Circle. And this is a circle for purpose-driven women with a calling. And you are determined that you are going to cultivate your calling. Cultivate your capacity. Because y'all, without it, this is where the other things come into play, because you have too much on your plate. Sometimes too much on your plate can be because life be lifing, meaning got nothing to do with you adding to your plate. But this is a way where you can learn how to subtract some things and add the things that's needed. Because unfortunately, life can be lifing. But by you cultivating your capacity, it allows you to have more clarity when you're making decisions. It's not going to stop life from life in, but it helps you to show up better. So if anything that I have said resonated with you, definitely comment. And I see here on Facebook, thank you, Pastor Kim Jacobs. Yep, alignment is required. And she is saying, yes, she had counseling recently because of some very similar things, and it helped her. Yep, self-care is required. And she said that, let's see, having the capacity for my calling. Great point, Sharon. Yep, sure enough. And let's see, I'm looking at the comments. All right, sounds good, sounds good. And with that, Kim is having her walk by faith, and she's inviting me to share 3 minutes of tips, including a deep breathing piece. Sound good? Sound good. Most definitely, most definitely. And this is where it's at. This is how we build that capacity. And, this is what we want from you. And so I do appreciate everyone who was able to come online live, and especially for those of you who were able to comment. Because of the fact, cultivating your capacity for your calling, that's it. Because we don't want you down and out because of your capacity. And so and so and so. I will see you all next time. Thank you for joining.